Hello, everybody. It's Deb here with the Deb Talks. And today we have a very special guest, Michelle. She's one of my favorite people to talk to. And we've been trying to get together to do this podcast for a bit now, and it just hasn't worked out so well, but we are finally here. We wanted to talk a little bit about, menopause. Uh, it's that time of our lives. So, but I have been wanting to talk to Michelle about this for quite some time, because I was, looking at the trend of people doing Bikram yoga, and I remember when I was practicing almost every day, a good 10, 15 years ago, there were
Yeah.
a few ladies I would see that they were just not come anymore. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. And a lot of those ladies, it was like they were in menopause and they just found it really hard to come
Yeah.
to the room, maybe
Yeah.
because of the heat, maybe a lot of things. So anyhow, and of course I'm in my going through menopause myself and have been navigating through it pretty good without having to
Oh, good.
give up my yoga, which is even teaching. So, which is really good. And so I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about it with Michelle, because I do remember when I first started getting these symptoms, I actually reached out to you and said to you like, oh, what's all this about? Because I remember you were talking about it before. So the good advice was like, obviously one of the biggest things is to check your gut. But today we wanted to talk a little bit about, we'll go into as much as we
Yeah.
can, but specifically we wanted to talk about menopause and Bikram yoga and what are some of the pros, and they could be possibly cons as well for some people.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring Michelle on today because she's an expert in this. She's been doing Bikram yoga for many years through menopause, probably came out the other side. And so I wanted to have her on today as a guest, and just, because there's a lot of women out there struggling with symptoms, and
Yeah.
everybody's symptoms is so different. And
Right.
because everybody's body is so different, and
Right.
because a lot of people say, yeah, I eat this, sleep like this or like this, but some things work and some things doesn't.
Right.
But today we're going to try and talk a little bit about
Yeah.
what we can do to help us.
Yeah. First of all, it's always an honor when you ask me to come on. If I recall last time, every time we get together, Deborah, we go to the moon and back, and there's never enough
I
time.
know.
Right. And I feel like the audience really appreciates it because I remember the last one we did, I felt like there was a lot of views. Like I'd gotten comments saying how much kind of we uncovered so much, like we went into depth about the topic. And let's see if we can do
Yes.
that here too. I'm writing down some notes as you talk, because you always spark my mind. That's what I love about you, is you always spark
Love
an
it.
insight. But one of the first things I want to say about menopause, and back when I was going through it, now being a representative of it, also doing the yoga, right? Because now I'm walking that walk. I can't tell
Yes.
you how many women came to me wanting to talk about it more. And you could tell there was this, and this is many women that would kind of
Yes.
whisper to me that they're going through the same thing, and felt shame, felt
Oh,
like they didn't belong, or like it was a subject they needed to handle by themselves. It was
oh,
eye-opening for me, right?
oh, wow.
Because we don't, even as a community of women, we don't really talk about it.
My mother never said one thing to me
I,
about that. I never, to be honest
wow.
with you, I probably had my first symptoms of perimenopause when I hit 50. So that was pretty late. And I think it's because of the healthy lifestyle, yoga,
Sure.
those things, but I
Yeah.
still got it. And I was like, my mom never said a word, and I never saw her like even
Yeah.
say anything about it. So it
Yeah.
was completely like something I honestly thought it was going to bypass me.
Oh gosh, don't we wish? Don't we wish? Don't we wish? And
I
the
didn't.
same with me, because my mom had died when I was 33, and I didn't have those kinds of conversations. I didn't
Yeah.
really have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
So it hit me too, like a ton of bricks, which I'll share with you in a second, kind of my first. But I do want to say to the audience, like I feel like if we can start, it's a natural thing, and I feel like if we could turn it around and look at it and appreciate that our body is working the way it's supposed to. One of my great homeopathy doctors that I go to see, he's so sweet. He helped me with some supplements for it as I went through the phases with it. But he's like, just think about kind of your ovaries going to sleep, like they did their job, right? And so your chemistry of your body is changing and it just needs time, right? So it's actually
Yes.
nature, right? Which is so
Yes, of course.
yoga, right? And so
Yes.
instead of, I think in our mind, we kind of, we I don't want, we kind of beat ourselves up about it instead of embracing, okay, this is a natural shift of my life, right? And
Yes.
how can I align with it to make it an easier transition? I think what makes it worse is, that we want to fight it so much, right?
Yes.
Because we're not feeling good, or we have the shoulds, like I
Yes.
shouldn't feel this way. I do all these things, right? And so, then it becomes a fight. And
Yes.
I had it too. I had it too.
Mm.
And what I found, first and foremost is, I'll just share with you, is not, it took a while to accept it, because it's also accepting that you're not going to have a period anymore. You can't have kids anymore. And
Yes. There's
you're
many
moving
things involved in it. So many
many
things. So many
grieving
things.
things. And
Yes.
I'm not someone that really ever thought about having children. I don't have
Yes.
children, but the moment that I knew I
You
couldn't,
couldn't anymore. It hits you different.
it
Yes.
does. It
Yes.
does. So there's a loss there, right?
Yes. And you
Uh,
know what, you said something pretty cool earlier on in the conversation where you said a lot of women feel shame.
yeah,
And that's very sad to know that. And
so
I
sad.
think the reason so many women go to that shame feeling is because we don't talk about it enough. They
Right,
don't see it in our society, because in
right.
our society we want to show like, oh, it's so
I
good and
know.
women have to look like this,
Right,
and if you don't look like this, you got to get some
right,
surgery. And we buy into that and we
right.
fall for that. And yet there are a few women that stand out in our communities that haven't done those things, and they age beautifully.
I right.
And and you also said like, yeah, these things happen to us, and why is it happening to us? At the same time, I would say that there are also good things that comes from this period.
Oh
And
yeah.
those good things, usually they come a little bit after, like some of the discomforts. And the discomforts are there because your body's shutting down
Yeah.
something. Like let's say there was a factory working for 50
Right.
years. Now this factory has to shut down. And we don't
Right.
have enough compassion for ourselves to say,
I
my body
know.
actually
That's it.
did that, because the world wants us to be like all these things. And I'm like, no, we don't actually have to buy into that.
Right,
Like, it's better to take care of you, take care of your body.
right.
So when I was a kid, people used to talk about this thing called change of life. That's actually what they
Yes,
called menopause when I was a
that's
kid.
right. Oh my
So,
God. Yeah.
and to be honest with you, it had a negative effect in
Yeah,
my
of
brain,
course.
because it
Me
was like,
too.
oh my God, my life is going to change.
Right. Right.
And it was like a change
Right.
of a life.
I'm
It's so
right there
desperate and so
with
like
you.
huge.
All
And
right.
but what I will say, having gone through this for a little bit now, is that exactly what you said, when you start to embrace the change, then you start to see the positive aspect of it. There are so many positives, but
Yeah.
you can't see it for all the resisting that you have,
Right.
because it's normal. It's
Right.
something new, just like anything else. Like the
Right.
first time
Right.
you get your
Right.
period, it's
Right.
new. You don't know what to
Right.
do. The first time
Right.
you have a child, it's new. The first time you
Right.
get married, it's new.
Right.
Like
Right.
everything is new, so you don't know. So same with menopause, when you go
Right.
into that phase, it's
Yeah.
something new. And
Right.
if you do look for help, there's a lot of help.
There is a lot.
There
Yeah.
is a lot of help. You just have to have that kindness towards yourself and say,
Yeah.
I'm going through something. And I remember when
Yeah.
I first started getting my symptoms, I was really like, it threw me
Yeah.
off a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And I remember reaching out to you, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And from that time that I actually reached out to you, I started looking up, what can I
Good
do
for
better? How
you.
can I
Yeah.
support my body? Because
Right.
I knew one thing is
Right.
that I would like to do this
Yeah.
natural and allow my body to go through what it's going through. But it wasn't always easy.
Oh
It's
no.
like, even
No.
sometimes, like when you
Yeah.
have these symptoms, and let's call one of the symptoms could be hot flushes. So when
Yeah.
you have these hot flushes, it's like you could be like, I haven't actually been on many podcasts for the last year or two because at that time I was getting these hot flushes and I found, oh my God, it's just not comfortable to be interviewing somebody and then get, oh, I have a hot flush, you know. So I was like, let me pause from that. So I took a break from it.
Yeah,
and
good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, I was honoring me first rather than trying to fit in with everything else. And that's the thing that I'd like to say to some woman, if you're going through this, is like, you have to make yourself a priority.
You do. You do.
You really have to. And when you do that, you start to see the benefits of menopause. It's like a pause.
Yeah, it's like a pause.
Take a break.
It is a pause. It is a pause. It is a pause.
Yes.
You're making me think of another thing that, well, I'll tell you, we can put on the podcast. That's kind of funny.
Exactly.
You know, your hormones shift. And I remember a girlfriend of mine saying, she goes, it's called menopause because men are on pause.
No, I don't think so. I think for me, it's just pause.
It's just pause. It's just
pause. Whether that's from the podcast,
do ask
if I'm
me,
getting
on the other side of it, I'll just share with you, is I found, your sexual appetite goes up. It goes up afterwards.
Way more sensual now than I ever did in my 30s.
Right.
Literally, I'm like, I'm feeling.
So women, if you think
like
you're
like a goddess
down there,
like
you're
a goddess.
Not.
You know, no, but you know what I think, Michelle? I think that's where the yoga comes in. So let's go back to the yoga.
Yeah, let's go back to that.
So it's like, so for me, to be honest, like I used to be able to practice almost daily for many years, maybe 20 years. And then when I started my menopause, I was like, okay, my body wasn't recovering as quickly as it used to. So I was like, you can practice a few days. It doesn't have to be every day. So I reduced a little bit the practice.
Yeah.
And and to be honest with you, that right now in my life, I am practicing less yoga now than I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm getting huge benefits.
Yeah.
Now that could possibly also be because I practice so much yoga before.
I'm with you. I think it's a little bit of that.
So less is more.
Yeah.
And so this is all part of that, taking a pause from everything. Like how people said you have to do it, how the world says you have to do it. This is your time. So you listen to yourself and you just do you. And it's so
amazing. I'll tell you, that's why yoga practice is so important, because I think every woman's path is different. So the first thing, I love what you were saying when you called me. I think that might have been the moment that you gave yourself permission that you're in this. You're in this. And now's the time for me.
And I need a bit of help.
Right. And I need so research it. But I think where we're getting at with the yoga too is the yoga, because it is a challenge in and of itself for everybody. It doesn't matter if it's man, woman, young, old, whatever your ability is. You learn to have this sense of self-control when you're in moments of frustration, right? And then when you're in those moments of frustration, right, you breathe, maybe you're challenging yourself in the posture that you're in, and you have all these things going on in your mind, but you're still passing through it on the other side, coming through with this sense of acceptance. And by the end of it, you do that enough, then you start to just sort of, instead of having this kind of up and down frustration, ease, breathing, not breathing, all that kind of stuff, you just realize that it just is what it is. Right? It is what it is. You're doing you're managing.
You're doing the best you can. You're showing up for yourself
you're
that day.
One that's, whatever you have. If a posture is harder, but my point is that you're training yourself to, how do I want to say, stay with a adult look on things that are out of whack. Right. I think that's what menopause does for us women. We're so used to, especially, if we take yoga and we're taking care of ourselves, right? Then all of a sudden we have something out of whack that we can't control, no matter what our diet, no matter what supplements, no matter the yoga. If it taught you enough, it's going to say, hey, look, there's some things that are going to come out you, but do you have the ability to still remain in peace? Right. And the yoga does, it helped me many times, but it's not every day. There were days that it was harder than others. Like you're saying, every day is different. Your way of doing it is going to be different than mine, because my body is different. Right. But I had to say to myself, and this is what I did for me, the days that I had the toughest days, I
Yeah.
have a Korean spa down the street. That was the day I said, I'm going to go spend an hour there by myself and go soak,
Yes.
in
Yes.
the cold plunge and go in the steam room.
Yes.
Right. I knew
Yes.
something to soothe me, right? In
Yes.
a day that was tougher than the other days.
Yes.
But I trusted that it would pass. And I got to tell you, ladies listening, I had friends that had gone through it before me. Every single one of them said, you just have to ride it out, to try, do embrace it as we're saying, but no, on the other side, right, there is this wiser sense
It's
of freedom.
wonderful, a wonderful
Yeah,
place to really to
right.
get to. It's
It
really a
really,
wonderful place when you not resisting it anymore, because there
yeah,
are different phases. I
yeah,
think there's even more
yes,
phases than like we say peri, menopause, and post.
right,
It's like I think there's so much, it's way
right,
more in depth than that. Because, for example, just come to our Bikram yoga practice. So for somebody who'd been practicing almost every day for so long and teaching and all that, and when your body is like saying, hey, you're not recovering the same, so maybe cut down a little bit. So it's more about quality than quantity. It becomes more about the
yeah,
quality of the
right,
experience. So that's one aspect. And then the other
yes,
aspect for me personally was like,
yeah,
oh, so it wasn't anymore about performance.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't anymore about performance.
right,
It was like I was
right,
grateful that day that my body could do that thing.
right, right,
So
right,
as soon as I let that out of my mind go, because a little bit when we have been doing yoga for so long, and also there's this thing in our head where we know that in yoga we improve. And so,
right,
but there came a
right,
point when
right,
I was not really, I was still improving, but there were some things I was not improving. Maybe some things
right,
we go back a little bit. So you're in your head about it. It's
yeah,
like I should be improving this,
yeah,
but
I
I'm not
know,
improving, right?
gosh,
So
right,
like
yeah,
there was one posture that I
yeah,
can tell you, oh my God, it was a
yeah,
rabbit pose.
yeah,
So rabbit pose, I was able to do like never, ever, ever, ever ever in my life had a problem with rabbit pose. And then all of a sudden I couldn't touch my forehead to my knees anymore. I couldn't touch it. To be honest, okay, now I can do it a little bit again, but there was a long period during my
yeah,
first
yeah,
experience with menopause that I was like, because there's something going on here in the front
yeah,
of your body,
yes,
right? And
yes,
it was
yeah,
just like, oh my God, it was insane. And
yeah.
so actually, I will share a little bit here with you
Did you judge
guys.
yourself? Were you down on yourself?
Well, there's the thing. I was a
Yeah,
little bit, and
yeah,
but then I did let it go, because that's
yeah,
what yoga teaches us.
right.
You're going through your
You
life and you
do
just,
know better.
yeah.
That's the adult in you
But
saying, wait a minute, know better. Yeah,
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 I actually did come back to my rabbit pose. And that first time after a long time
yeah,
of
yeah.
not being able to do that posture, I did it and I burst out in tears
Oh,
because I had so much gratitude for me
right.
being okay
Yeah, yeah.
with how
But
it
talk about
is.
full circle. It
Yes,
sounds like the meaning of what you were doing, that you went into the wilderness and came out the other side where you're doing it now, but it's different meaning.
it's different meaning.
Yeah.
It was
And I
just,
gotta tell you, I feel the
just
same. I
gratitude.
feel the same. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I love my yoga for different reasons than I did
Yes.
probably, pre-menopause. I know that
Yes.
it's taking care of me. I don't do it for the athletic.
Aesthetics.
I,
The aesthetics.
yeah, right. Exactly. I love all that, but that's a
I love it
byproduct
too. Yeah,
of the
exactly.
reason why I'm doing it, because I know that it's
Yeah.
100% taking care of me inside and out. And it's going
Yes.
to help me, get through those emotional swings. Oh my God, I had so many
Yes.
of
It's
those.
hard. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think it's funny when we talk about why people do yoga. So here's the thing. So I want you to listen if you're
yeah,
out there and you're in our age group and you're
yeah,
going into menopause. When yoga is not really like this fitness
yeah,
exercise thing that people are promoting outside. Yoga is so much more than that.
right, right,
Okay, so if you have a yoga practice, it's going to help you and sustain you.
yeah,
And if you're going through something like, just like if you had an operation, if you had broke your leg, if you, whatever, menopause could be one of those, let's call it one of those things. You're
right,
going through something that your body is
right,
struggling with. Take it easy,
yeah,
do less, but
yeah,
still have that discipline
yeah,
to show up.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, now you're not practicing 5 times a week. Try
Yeah.
2 times a week. Try
Yeah.
3 times a week. See what
Right.
you can do, not just give
Right.
up, because the
Right.
yoga, there's so many things in the yoga that can
Yeah.
help you in all these areas.
Yeah.
But like a lot of women, so when I was seeing them like 15 years ago, they just gave up the yoga practice because
Oh
now it
man.
was too hard.
Yeah.
But it isn't
Or they
really. Your
don't want to
body
get
is
a hot
going through a
flash.
change.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And
Uh,
actually, my hot flushes, to be honest,
yeah.
I have them in the room. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it helped me a lot,
Yeah.
to
Well, I
deal with them.
remember, I don't know if it was Emmy or I never went to one of those women retreats that Emmy led, but I do
Mm.
know that it may not be at first, right? The yoga will help regulate the symptoms so they're not so extreme. And I think the same with the
Mm.
hot flashes, but you got to stay with it, right? Because that's what
Mm.
yoga is doing.
Consistency.
Remember, yeah, the yoga is calibrating, recalibrating. Think about it.
Mm.
Menopause, we're not our body chemistry. And again, it's different for everybody, but we are going up and down. And some days are different than others because the body's doing what it needs to do, right? To change your chemistry. So, you've got the rest of your life to live, right? In a certain way. So
Yes.
I think the yoga helps to balance, what's going on with your blood pressure that day, what's going on with, your hormonal activity, what's going on with your pituitary gland. So the
Yes.
yoga is kind of helping you. And then I think in so doing, it helps to calm that monkey mind that always wants to figure it out. Like, what can I do today to make myself feel better? Right? We get so
Yes.
consumed, especially when we're
Yes.
going through this, and some days
Mm.
feel worse than others. The yoga is
Mm.
just going to help you kind of stay, in that homeostasis and let you kind of recalibrate in a more balanced way so you can move through this,
Yes.
right?
It's
And
true.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really is going to help you. And the way that I kind of see it now, like looking back, hey,
yeah,
because it's been 4 years for me, and it's like I feel like I was breaking out of the shell,
yeah,
like this, let's say this person I was before
yeah,
menopause. And
yeah.
I loved who I was
Isn't that
before
beautiful?
menopause. I
Sure. Right.
loved,
Yeah.
yeah, I loved who
Yeah.
I was. And I think, and I think most people love who they are. And therefore,
Yeah.
when they go through this change called menopause, they think that something bad is going to happen. They're not
Right.
going to be as sexy. They're not going to be
Right.
as
Thus that
desirable.
term
And this is
change of
all,
life, right?
and
So
let me tell
scary.
you, ladies, this is not
No.
true.
Yeah.
Everything
Listen
is
to her.
about, it's not true. So don't let society make you feel like it's a shameful thing to go through menopause. It's a
No,
privilege.
it is a
It's
privilege.
really a privilege.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I believe like anything
Yeah.
else, like if you to get something great, you have to go through
Right.
something.
You do. You
Yeah.
do. It is
So
a really
that's how
gift.
I
I mean,
feel. Yeah.
I look at it too as a gift from God. I'm like you. I
Yes.
feel more feminine, more of a
Me
woman
too.
than I did
Completely in
before.
grounded
Yeah.
in myself, like
Yes.
know who I
Yes.
am.
Yeah. I know
Don't
who I
if somebody
am.
saying something negative doesn't phase
Doesn't
me.
phase you, and yet you're using
Yes.
yourself in a better way. There's more
Yes.
confidence. You're
I have
bold.
more love. I have
Yeah,
more
yes,
kindness. I have more
yes, right,
compassion.
right.
Like everything
Yeah,
is just heightened. And
yeah.
I
It
feel
is.
more woman than I've ever felt
Yeah,
in my
me
entire
too.
life.
Me too. So all you guys need to get
And thank
excited
God
out
I
there.
don't
Yeah.
have to have any more babies.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then there's all that. Oh my God. I think about all the products that women have to go through. Every time I see a commercial, I'm like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so
Yes,
grateful.
exactly. So
Doing
there
that
is
anymore.
light at the end of the tunnel.
There
And
is.
just
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that if you're going
Yeah.
through this, like we've all experienced it,
Yeah.
when you first go through it, I feel like
Yeah.
almost that's probably the hardest part,
Right.
because we're now looking at just what are we losing?
Right.
Like,
Right.
well, that's part of it. What am I
Right.
losing? Who am I
Right.
losing?
Right.
And then
Right.
obviously having, how do I maintain myself through the symptoms?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because for a lot of women it's different. Some women can't sleep, some have brain
Yeah.
fog, some have
Right.
like, and
Right.
and
I had that.
so
That's
beautifully
that.
what you said,
Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah.
is really when you do keep that consistent Bikram yoga practice, it does dull the symptoms slightly for you. They're still
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
it's still, and I mean, it can be annoying, and it's like it's happening at times when it's so inconvenient. But
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
the part of
yeah.
the
Yeah.
pause. When you learn
Yeah.
to pause, everything has to pause,
Yeah.
and
Right.
you need to take
Right.
care of you.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's what I would say that I probably loved the most about
Yeah.
my process, is that I just had to make that choice. Like I
Yeah.
choose to pause and I choose
Right.
me, and everything
Yeah.
else is going to have to wait. And
Yeah.
now that I kind of am coming back, I'm coming back like 100,000 times better.
Right.
So
Oh my
even
God,
if
I
it
did
took a
too. I
few
was so
years,
shocked. Yeah. Yeah.
even if it
I
took a
think
few years,
it does. You know what, too?
yeah,
I
it
tell
takes a few
people that,
years.
yeah, you guys, and years is not a long time. So don't worry about it. Just take it a day at a time. I think one of the
Yes.
things that happens, and I didn't happen to me so much, but I do remember I had a little bit more hair in areas that wasn't really the
Mm.
place you're supposed to have hair.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
right? That
yeah.
phase, right? You know, men,
Yeah.
some women don't go through that. And I think one of the things that happens when you have something like that, where, you know, it's
Mm.
so shocking. You think that you think it's
Yes.
going to be that way forever, right? You just
Yes.
do. You have in your mind, right? Oh
Yes.
my God, is this is this, should I give up my life now? Right? Is this the end of my life? Like,
Yes.
is this gonna,
Yes.
am I ever gonna be pretty again, or whatever you say,
Yes.
right? And you
Yes.
know what, you ladies, if anybody is saying that, please laugh at yourself. Just turn around and laugh at
Yeah.
yourself. That is not true at all,
And
right? This is
find a
a
group, find a
glorious
support
way.
group,
Yeah, find a
right?
support
Find a
group, laugh
support, so
about
like
it.
find people who
Yeah,
who know what you're going through, that can
right,
support you, that can help
right,
you, because
right.
it is just a phase. And
It's
like
a
I started to say,
temporary,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a phase.
yeah.
And like I said
And
earlier on,
yeah, and
it's
if
like
you,
yeah, go ahead, Michelle, you go.
well, and like you were saying, I think, you know, I always call it wilderness in my
Mm,
faith, you know, too,
mm.
that
Yes,
guys,
it
when we
is
go through
felt like a
struggle,
wilderness.
yeah, yeah,
It really
when we go
did.
through struggle,
And alone, you
that
feel
is
like you're in this
growing.
wilderness
And if,
alone.
yeah, and I don't know about you, but if I'm going to go through struggle, I want to make sure I get the blessing on the other side. So
Yeah,
whatever you're going
100%.
through, be in it. Like, find a way to be in it,
Yes.
like a support group, you know, get the supplements, do
Oh my
research,
God, that's
buy
so
yourself,
wonderful
you
that
know
you
what I
say
mean? Oh
this,
yeah. Oh man. No,
because
no kidding.
it's triggering
Yeah.
in me the when you talk about the blessing. So
Yeah.
I honestly believe that life is always trying to give us a blessing,
Yeah.
and sometimes that blessing can come look ugly in the
Yeah.
beginning.
That's right.
But the more ugly, I think, the more
Yeah.
blessing.
That's
So,
right.
you know,
I agree.
just
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that God will never give us anything that we cannot bear.
Absolutely. That's
And I
so
think we see
beautifully
that
said.
like with the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
carrying of the cross, you know, like
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
always be
Yeah.
able to bear your
Yes.
cross.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and honestly, and so that's why I actually wanted to make this podcast, because I want you to know that there's hope. And I want you to know that there's going to be a time when you come out of it. However, how you choose to go through it makes a difference for you.
Yeah.
So when you choose to
Right.
resist and fight and
Right.
blame and be the victim of everything,
Right.
it's not going to be good for you.
Right.
But
No.
if you decide to have compassion, and like
Yeah.
you said earlier on, Michelle,
Yeah.
it's a natural thing for the body to go through. It's a
Yeah.
natural thing. You have to change your life,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you have to accommodate what your body is
Right.
going through. And
That's
the
right.
people I feel that who are really struggling, they either, well, they're making their jobs a priority or whatever
Yeah.
else they are doing a priority, but menopause wants to be the priority, because
Yeah.
it's a thing that you're going through. It's a life thing,
Right. Right. Right.
you know,
Doesn't
and you
it
can't
teach
just
you
fit it in with
too?
everything else.
Right, right. It does teach you if you let it. And again, just like you said, it's a choice. It does teach you, you know, what matters in life, because it's
Mm-hmm.
giving you no choice. Because you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have a hot flash, you know, hot flashes are really spurred on from stress. So if you're stressing for a presentation you're doing at work, just know it's
Yes.
probably going to come on. So, you know, figure out a way to
Yes.
manage it and still do your presentation.
Presentation.
Don't
Yes.
fight it, don't hide it, don't,
Yes.
you know, band-aid
Don't
it,
be ashamed,
and don't be
100%.
ashamed
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Like, be bold about it. And just, you know, this is a natural progression of a woman's body and a woman's mind
Yes.
and a woman's life to carry you into your golden years that are just so freeing. It's
I know.
amazing. Yeah. But
Yeah.
you have to
And
go through
then
that passage just like a
it's
caterpillar to a
like
butterfly.
everything else.
You
If you
really
want to
do.
have the baby, you've got to go
Yeah.
through the birth.
Right.
There's no other way. So
Right.
it's like, you know, but
Right.
honestly, when you have taken your time and you've
Yeah.
gone through it, it's
Yeah.
literally like coming out of a box and leaving
Yeah.
the old shell behind, and
Right.
you will be pleasantly
Right.
surprised by
Yeah.
this new
Yeah.
beautiful human
Yeah.
being that you're
Yeah.
going to be, when you
Yeah.
give it the time and the, you know, that
When
it
did
needs.
you start to
I
feel
started at
like you were
50.
at 50, but when did you start to feel that like maybe this was kind of moving, you were moving away from it, where you
4
felt
years
that?
later.
4 years. But was there something that happened that you felt like, okay,
I
or
would
was
say
it
like the first
subtle?
year was probably
Yeah.
just, well, I would say that I spent some time like a little bit maybe fighting, I would call it.
Yeah,
Because
me
I thought
too. Yeah,
if I just did a bunch of things to fight it
right,
off, it would go.
right.
And to be honest, Michelle, I think like as these things go, it was very mild for me, but I was
Yeah,
just until I was 50, I was like in super good, nothing.
yeah,
So when that
yeah,
came, I was like, what?
yeah, yeah.
And then it wasn't going anywhere. In actual fact, it would, go up and down, in and out, da da da. And honest to God, to be honest,
Yeah.
I thought that it would last like maybe a year or two. And then it didn't. It took, and I was like, but how does it take so many years to shut
Yeah.
the factory down?
Right. Yeah. Can we just switch it off? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so I became a little bit impatient with it. But then I would say around maybe the second year, I was like, okay, Deb, that's
Ah,
that's when I
got
changed. Like the
to.
pause had to happen. Nothing
Yeah.
else is more important than
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where the whole thing with my practice changed as well. It wasn't about you don't even know that that's going on
Yeah.
until
You
your
don't.
body physically can't do
Right.
it anymore. And you're
Yeah.
just like, and now I love
Yeah.
my practice so much.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't really care what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
It
so
just,
the
it's
same
just,
way. Yeah. It's
yeah, it just
yeah.
is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
I actually
Right.
think that I have more everything now than I had even from 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
And I
God,
practice
I
less
know.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
so
it's just,
cool to hear
I would
that.
say
Yeah.
it was when the resistance dropped
Yeah.
and there was this love and compassion, and I made myself a priority
Yeah.
that started. And then I would also add here to women that are really struggling, there is some things that you can do that's going to
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah.
Look at your diet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big
Because
thing.
what's going on for us is
Yeah.
when we are not getting our period anymore, we are not cleansing monthly,
Right.
So now whatever you put into your
Right.
body, like if
Yeah.
that's like all processed foods, they are
Right.
hard for our
Right.
bodies
Right.
to process.
Right.
So
Right
if you
down
can
now.
cut them
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saving yourself a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So I've actually
Yeah.
come back to, how do we look at food? Food is energy. And
Right.
I know in our society and how we've been doing it, it's like food is also a celebration. We get together, we eat food. But when your body is saying the wrong foods are going to have this effect on you, you can choose, like if you want to
Yeah.
go through those effects or do
Yeah.
you not? Like,
Right.
and so I would say that was probably for me the last bit that I was like, okay, now I'm going to eat foods that's only just going to help my body.
Right. Right.
And so, but it's hard because cutting out all those processed foods, meaning like all those things I used to love going to do, like now I'm just
Yeah.
not doing them anymore. For example, when I go to a coffee shop,
Yeah.
I used to love the cakes and the this and the that. And it's like, now I just don't eat processed sugar really.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like, oh, have a mint tea. How boring is that?
How boring. Exactly.
However,
Yeah.
I am bringing my presence to this
Yeah.
cup of tea and making it exciting.
Yes. Right.
So
Right.
and also there
Right.
are a lot of people just knowing in our society nowadays that not just in menopause but just overall, like there's so much junk in our food.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
now when I go to the store, 90% of the stuff I cannot buy.
I know, me too. I'll tell you, to add to that, you women out there, we're all a little bit luckier. Talk about a silver lining out of COVID, because, and I know
Yes.
you watch my Instagram stuff, Deborah, but I am amazed. It's COVID that got me to start baking. But I cook my own food now too, as a result of the surgery that I had
Yes.
in December. And talk about making things easier to break down. But you guys, if you're so inclined, if you go on Instagram and just search like gluten-free, vegan, Mediterranean diet, which is, by the way, excellent for when you're going through menopause, just
Yeah.
natural grains and really good beans, but the recipes that are out there are so easy. There's a guy I follow that does Trader Joe recipes with like 5 different ingredients. And I mean, I make some of his stuff. And, so it's like Deborah is saying, it's not processed. There's no preservatives. It's easy on the body.
Yes.
You'll get all of the probiotics and the things that your body is actually craving. And again, I
Yes.
think it's about making those smart choices, but letting
Yes.
your body still, if you're gonna have a day that you're constipated, you got to be okay with it. Day that you have diarrhea,
Yeah.
all of that until and just
Exactly.
trust. But know that you're doing the right things, right?
Yes.
You
You
got
have to
keep,
try and help yourself. And that's
yeah,
literally what it is. You
water,
can't stay the
sleep
victim of the
good,
whole thing.
walks, be in sunshine. I mean, all those things.
Water.
Yeah. And I bet you still do those. Like I learned really
I
good
do that.
habits,
Yes.
right? Water,
Yes.
walking, make sure I
Yes.
get good sleep. Oh my God, sleep was
Yes.
such a big thing. To
Yes.
make sure I had the proper, like, deep sleep. That's the other reason
Yes.
why I appreciated the yoga, because I knew if I
Mm.
didn't have a good night's sleep, I needed to get that yoga in
Yeah. Yeah.
to help my body do what it
Yeah.
needed to do that it
shut down.
didn't do when it was sleeping.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And it helps calm you, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
the yogas help like a soothing balm on the interior as well as a mental, to
Yes.
keep you
Yoga
from
is definitely for
judging,
the whole
right?
life.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
I'm ever so grateful because, I always used to say that my yoga has always been there for me through the good times, the bad
Oh
times,
yeah.
the ugly
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Like every time,
Amen.
like you
Amen.
just,
The every time.
like
That's
every
a good
time.
saying. The every time.
It's the
Yoga's for
every
the every
time.
time.
It has
I like
probably
that.
been my closest ally and friend
Yeah.
and everything,
Yeah.
like whenever and luckily, like I always knew, even when I was good, I still went for my yoga class. Like it was
Yeah.
just something that I did. And so when the bad times, the tough times came, it was easier to go. Because I think sometimes when we're not doing well, it's easy not to go. But when
Right.
you're doing
Yes.
it, with your discipline, then
Yeah.
it's easier to go in the bad times. And that also goes for the menopause, because when you're going through some phases, you might have less energy. And like I said, even if you came to the class, you
Yeah.
just breathed and
Yeah.
you just maybe did half moon and you want to lie down, you go
Yeah.
ahead.
You do
But the
it.
fact
You
that
do
you
it.
came and
Yeah.
the energy is there,
Yeah.
and some days I would go to the room and I think there's no way, and then I have the best class
Best
ever. So you
class.
just
Yeah.
don't know.
Don't
Like
know.
instead of
Yeah.
like predetermining, like, oh no, today I don't think so. Like, don't let your mind talk you out of it.
Right.
Just show up and do
Yeah.
the best you can. And but we judge ourselves, don't
I
we? It's
know.
like, oh, we are so
Right.
judgmental because I
Oh,
can't do it this way
yeah.
and that way, so now I'm not
Right.
going to come, and
Right.
that's not helping you.
Right. Yeah,
You
you're
know?
reminding me of Bikram's comment. Remember, he would say, and this isn't just Bikram, it's just his way of saying it, negative comments, thoughts in your mind are 9 times more powerful than positive ones.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and then it's said in many different ways that if you keep your mind loose and not in a you
Tight,
fall into
closed.
chaos. You will fall into chaos.
Mm.
So that's why yoga, right, is the renewal of your mind, because what you're getting at, there's not one woman I know, not anybody I know, number one, that's ever regretted taking a yoga class, but not one woman I know that had gone through menopause that felt worse after she had taken a class. So
Oh my
the
God.
battle is before, when your mind,
Yes.
again, negative thoughts 9 times. You have to know that. You have to know the battle before you go is what your struggle is. It won't be the class, regardless of how you
Yes.
feel. It's just getting
100%.
there.
I was saying
Right?
that in class yesterday, Michelle. I was teaching
Yeah.
last night,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
class, it was like we were all like over a certain age, in the 60s and
No.
40s and
Yeah.
so.
Love it.
And then
Love
they
it.
were like struggling a
You
little bit.
go.
And I said to them, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Not doing this class is worse than doing this class.
Yeah.
If you don't come to do this yoga, you will be worse.
Yeah.
So just know what the great thing you're doing for your body.
Absolutely.
Do what you can.
Do what you
1%,
can. Right.
1%, 100% benefits.
Yeah.
Don't come, no benefits. Body gets worse. Because our body, let's like, our bodies are so beautiful, and our bodies try to do so much for us.
Right.
Like, look at us, like in our 50s and 60s, like we look amazing,
Right.
beautiful looking,
Right.
beautiful bodies.
Yeah.
But you have to maintain
Man, you
that.
got to move. You got to
If
move.
you don't
Move it.
maintain it, you're
Yeah.
going to go
Yeah. You're
just
going to,
crush
gravity's
in,
going to
pull you
exactly.
down, because that's what gravity
Exactly.
does.
That's what
So
gravity
not
does.
coming to yoga, you can't actually afford not to come to yoga.
I know you can't.
Whether
You
you're in
can't.
menopause or not,
Yeah.
like all
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
actually afford not to move your body.
Right.
You
Right.
have to do
Yeah.
something to maintain your strength,
Yeah.
and your flexibility.
Yeah.
If you're not maintaining those
Yeah.
two things, gravity is going to come and grab you.
That's right.
And then
It
you will not
does. Oh my
enjoy
God.
it
Yeah.
when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And luckily for us, like, I mean, I remember so much Emmy Cleaves. Like, she was just somebody you could admire so much.
Oh my
Why?
God.
Because she was in her 80s and she was still doing yoga. Okay. So that means, and when I met her, like, to talk to her, like how she carried herself.
Oh, I know.
Her
Right.
self-worth, her
Grace,
beauty,
elegance,
her grace and essence. She was able to maintain that until she probably died.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't ever have to be old. You can age with your number, but you don't have to be old.
Said. Right.
You know? Exactly.
Exactly.
And so I actually, when I was younger, I used to be afraid of being older. Like, I used to see old people, I was like, ah. And honestly, I'm actually so looking forward to every year of my life.
Yeah.
Like, when I turn this age, when I turn that age, I'd love to see myself, because I'm not afraid of getting like that, because I know it's not going to happen, because that's why I come to yoga every day.
Exactly. Yes.
And however I'm going to be after I've done the yoga, I'm going to be okay with that.
You're good with it. Exactly.
Yeah, because I know I tried.
Good point. So
I tried, and this is the result. Yes, exactly.
You know, that's the other thing is I have 2 points there. I think one of the things, you're a smart person, I'm a smart person. I got to tell you, people who are intellectual, people that are intellectual have a tough time with things being where would be the authority of it be? They're always searching for the authority of it. I tell you, that's one of the things I'm so proud of myself for, because I know that the authority of what I know to be true for me, I don't have to go searching for anything else. That's it. Yoga has the authority. I know I'm like you, if I take the yoga, whatever ramifications come as a result, it doesn't matter, because I'm not questioning it. I'm not going, well, gosh, maybe I should be doing blah, blah, blah. Right. It's like, know that that's the authority. And if I do that, then whatever else comes in, of course, my faith, right, too. I just know whatever plays out, I'm still going to trust, because I'm doing the things that I know are the right things to do. I don't have to second guess. Well, maybe I should be eating this. Maybe I should do this. As long that the yoga has the authority.
And I think we can take it as an authority.
Yeah. One more thing I want to share with you that you just said. And everyone needs to, I think where you and I have shifted, this is a quote we just came on that Bikram says all the time, is we have to recognize, and I think for years, I didn't feel this until probably menopause and recently, we think that the posture is the object. We've got to produce a good posture where the object is you, right? Remember, it's the only subject in the world. The object is you. The posture, right, is not the object. So we're not looking for a good standing bow. You're doing
aesthetics of it.
Bow so that you can flush the blood out from one side to the other, right? And the object is you. You're trying to do the right things in standing bow, so the object gets what it needs, and it's you, right? You know, so it's so fascinating to me. I get that more now in my golden.
Because you're living, because here's the thing, in everything in life, when we are talking about something, we are reading about something, we can even listen to something, it's one thing. You have to become something to know it.
Yeah. It's
so it's the becoming.
Yeah.
It's the becoming of that information. Right. You can hear the information.
Right.
Like there's a quote, I think it was Paul who wrote, it must be 1st or 2nd Corinthians in the book. He says, like, you can talk about love, you can all these things about love, but it will be like an empty sound.
That's right.
You have to become, you have to be love.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with all the stuff.
But you're right.
All the stuff we talk about until you become that thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, until I became, I have to pause. I had to become pause. I couldn't, I don't want to fit this, what I'm going through. Because my body is saying, no, it wants to be the center of it, of the whole thing right now.
That's so well said.
And I made it. And I made it that. And I found that after that, it became, there was even like there was like a beauty in it.
Yeah.
Even through the suffering and the
Well, it
struggling,
sounds like,
there was a beauty.
yeah, it's not you and the other, right? You came together, right? And you
Yes,
became
there's
that.
no two, like one wants to be here. It's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dissolving
yeah.
of
Right,
the distance
right.
between where I am
Yeah,
and where I was or
right.
where I want to
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
That's it. It's
yeah,
just you can only be here now. And then when I
right.
was actually,
And
honestly,
now
I
there's no more
felt
fight because there's nothing
that,
to fight.
and there's no more time and distance between it. So
Yeah,
now I feel like,
yeah,
oh, I can use that, let's call it whatever I had to learn through those years. I can now use that information to help others so that they don't, if they are stuck in that same places where
right,
maybe I was stuck.
right.
So, that maybe can
Yeah,
help them. So I'm using
right.
the information to help
Yeah,
other people.
yeah,
But I also feel at the same time like, oh, it just went by like a flash.
right.
Because when the resistance
Right.
go, then
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
goes, right?
I think
And
you
I
hit the
wanted,
nail on the
yeah.
head. I think one of the first things, those of you that are listening to this that are kind of trying to find an answer is, because I think you can talk to people ad nauseum, but if they still have resistance, they're not hearing you.
No,
The first thing to
no.
lay down, ladies, is the resistance to it. It might take a little bit, but once you lay that down, then
Yes.
you'll feel differently about it,
Yes.
and let it be your what you're identifying with. And again, then you become on pause and you become the priority. But I feel like you've got to lay down the resistance first.
Yes.
If
And
you're,
it's a decision that it's kind
it's
of
the
like
choice.
you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
make the decision to
yeah,
trust
yeah,
that this universe got
yeah,
you.
yeah,
And it's not going to put you
yeah,
through something for
yeah.
nothing,
Right. Oh God,
right?
don't make it a waste
This,
of time, ladies. Don't make
yes,
it a waste of time.
yes. And be in it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
experience it.
yeah,
And and there's going to be, and some days are better than other days. It's
yeah.
not always bad and it's not
Right,
always good, like I think in life,
right,
right? So it's just
right.
another thing. But I wanted to come back to something that
Yeah,
you said early on about being an authority. And I was just going to say that, I mean, yoga has been around for 5,000 years.
yeah.
I think that's kind of an authority.
I know, yeah. I know. I mean, it
And the
truly is
fact,
like the
yeah, and
buck
the fact
stops
that,
there. I mean, that's
yeah,
it, right?
there's a
I know.
5,000-year authority. What
I
else do you
know.
want,
But
basically?
what else do you want?
What else do you want?
Yeah, I
And
know.
also coming
I
even more
get
to
you.
that, like Bikram Yoga is an authority.
Yeah.
I mean, Bikram has been teaching this
God.
the sequence for what 60 years now
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
And people,
That's what makes it
thousands,
easy too, Deborah,
yes,
is
for
because
us,
you and I
yeah.
are not reinventing anything. It's
No,
already a product that has
yes,
been proven over and over
yes,
again.
over
And I
again.
find that makes it the easiest thing. I don't understand why we want to
Yes.
make it other things when the recipe
Because
has
the
never
ego,
been broken. Yeah.
no, the ego wants to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, to be honest with you, there in our environment, people are always trying to find the easy way. Or I remember in my community where I live,
Yeah, that's
when I
true.
first moved here 20 years ago, Bikram Yoga was the only hot yoga in this whole town.
Yeah.
I cannot
Yeah.
count how many
Yeah. That's what I had heard up there.
how
You
many
guys
things
had it.
is happening
Yeah.
right now.
Right. Yeah.
But I
Oh, wow.
still
Really?
maintain this
Yeah.
is what I
Yeah.
do, this is what
Yeah.
I teach, and this is
Yeah.
how I teach it. And you
Yeah.
can go there if you want to,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Right.
But
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't shift
Well,
away,
obviously,
right? Like,
me
I
too.
know
Either.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, if you find a practice with this much authority,
Yeah.
holy smokes,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, my
Take it,
God.
because
Yeah,
so
take
many
it as a
thousands and thousands of people
right.
before you
Take it
had
as a
done
blessing
it.
that it got you, and now just stay
Yes.
with it. Stay with it and
And
ride the
even if
wave.
you're going through menopause and you
Yeah,
can only
yeah,
come once or
yeah,
twice, but at
yeah,
least don't give up. Like,
yeah.
I
Don't give
remember
up.
Bikram's
Yeah,
words. I will not ever forget it as
yeah,
long as I live.
yeah,
He
yeah,
used to make it like a fun thing out of it.
yeah.
But he used to say, he used to be in his little bikini and his black
I know what
bikini,
you're
and he
gonna
would be
say.
like,
Yeah.
he'd be like, Yogi never dies. If you die, I'll be stomping on your grave to get up, and you never give up. You never, ever,
Right.
ever,
Right.
ever give up
Never give up.
on
Never
yourself.
give up.
Ever.
Never give up on yourself.
You never
Yeah.
give up
Yeah.
on yourself.
Yeah. Don't you feel like you're living those words more too? Like I don't
Like I
underestimate myself, but man, I needed to hear those words over and over and over again until I felt
like I
it.
said,
Yeah.
until like when I was younger, I was hearing, I was
Yeah.
talking, maybe
Yeah.
doing, but
Right.
menopause has given me this gift of that becoming still and becoming those things. And
Yeah.
now I have lost nothing
Yeah.
Not my sensuality, not my
Yeah.
sense of who I
Right.
am, not my
Right.
beauty, not my
Right.
resilience.
Right.
I have lost
Yeah.
nothing
That's so
through
beautiful.
this
Yeah.
phase, but I
You
have
know, it
gained.
does,
I
menopause
have
does shake
gained.
you to the core. It makes you really kind of revisit your belief system.
Yes,
You'll
but I
come
was
away
afraid
with
in the
a
beginning.
broad,
Like
yeah,
I was
for
afraid
sure. Oh, me too. Me too.
to lose this person who
Yeah.
I was.
Right.
I was
Right.
really not
Right. Right.
enjoying that.
Yeah.
But when I
And it
made
always,
peace with it,
yeah. Yeah. And then
then I
look what
could
comes out
see.
on the other side, right? You know,
Exactly.
you're more authentic, you know,
Oh,
more authentic.
way more authentic.
Yeah.
Even today, when I was coming up to do this podcast with you, like
Yeah.
usually I'd be like questions and I was like, none of that. It's just going to be like free fall because I enjoy you so much. You know,
Vice
we are
versa.
like these.
Yeah.
By the way, Michelle and I, we have the same birthday month. So we are like, you know, we're like soul
Taurus
sisters
sister.
there.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I had like no notes because I wanted it just to come from our hearts because
Yeah.
really I believe that like we're not trying to tell you what to do. We're
Yeah.
just here to share that if you're
Encourage.
struggling,
Yeah.
and then this was our experience. And like, you know, you don't have to give up your Bikram yoga practice. You can maintain it, even if whatever that is for you, whatever that looks like for you. If you are in the throes of menopause, look at what you're eating. 50% of it is what you put in your mouth because your body is not cleansing anymore.
Right.
Be okay if you have like, I mean, like, I don't know if it's appropriate to say on the podcast here, but I have boobs now.
Yeah,
I never had boobs.
Yeah,
and so it's okay when you get
something.
and I was laughing about that because when I
God,
was
you're
a
lucky,
teenager,
girlfriend. I don't know what happened to me.
no, I got them when I was in my teenage years. Like all my friends had them and I didn't have them. I got them, I think like 16. I had like something. And I never really had big boobs. And so I used to like pray to God, like, hey, where's mine? I didn't get it. And then God said, hey, wait until you're 50.
Oh, wait, yes.
Like when I got them when I was like in my first year of menopause, I got them and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this.
Oh my God,
like
God in his loving
ridiculous.
sense
It was
of
just
humor honors
ridiculous.
his,
I know.
oh my God, honors his
ridiculous.
promises. Oh, that's so
But
great. How beautiful is that?
now I'm
How
loving
beautiful.
it. So
Yeah,
I'm loving my body. I have a different
yeah,
body. I have a
see,
new body.
right, but you
My
do,
body's
you
different.
start to love being feminine. I love, I'm
Yes.
so grateful that I'm a
Yes.
woman. I
Yes.
know, and it does take going through this passage. It really is.
It
It's not
does.
the end of life, it's beginning of life, really.
A different life. Just give it a chance.
Yeah.
Drop what you think
Yeah.
who you are. Drop what you think what you should be like and just be in that moment.
Yeah.
And then you'll see what this process is going to give you. Like that's an invitation. It's everything we've said today is an invitation. Try it out. And I hope that this helps you. And again, Michelle, it's always so fun to talk to you
Let's
about
do it
all
again. Any
things.
topic.
I know
We
any
can go to
topic
the
will
moon and
find a
back.
way to just, And I hope that this will help people, not just now, but in the future, even like we'll put this out everywhere so people can listen to it. And it's just fun. And you can feel the joy and the fun. And you can also feel the, like,
I'm
there
a
was
proud
some struggle
60-year-old, right? I just want to say that now. I mean, my God, right? Little did I know. I mean, 60,
and you
I mean,
look,
like you
I mean,
said,
and like when I see you, I'm like, 60 is like nothing. Look at her. She looks amazing. And I know I'm going to look like that, because it's not also just about look, but it's about energy.
Vitality, which yoga does, right? Your vitality maintains youth. Body
and also to know that if you have a day when you're not feeling okay, it's okay. It's okay. Lie on the couch. Don't see anybody. Don't talk to anybody. Like cut yourself some
my
slack.
boundaries
give yourself
have
a
gotten
break.
better. Yeah, I've canceled things more if I know I just need to be home. And I have a very strong introverted side and I have a very strong extroverted side, and both need to be managed. And I used to really kind of fight my introverted side. Now I know. I love that. I'm honoring myself more. I'm stewarding my life, right?
I mean, it's like I go out now. I was out like on Friday. It was so nice with some girlfriends. And by 10 o'clock, I want to go home and have my tea and go to bed.
But you know what? I
feel like I'm missing out.
No, right.
Like
and
I'm
also,
missing out on anything.
I think it's because too, I want to have an early morning and have a morning. I love my mornings. I used to blow them off before. And now I'm like, no, they're my time.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. Well, Michelle, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. I really appreciate you and all the things you do.
Thanks for what you're doing.
And
Thanks for what you're putting out there.
Like, and maybe I'll just share a little bit here. She's going to have another studio in it, she's going to move her studio again. And I was like, I'm such in awe of this woman, like how it's for the community, like what you're doing for your community is off the charts. Like when you can give them that, like, studio with all the things. And hopefully one of these days I'm going to have to
please
come out
please.
there.
I got a 10-year
I know I've been
lease. There's
saying this now for so long.
excuses.
I have to do it.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Take care.
We'll be in touch.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everybody.